Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to do ionic naming. So first off, an ionic compound is any compound that has a positive and a negative ion associated to it. So one example that typically people use is NaCl. Sodium is a positive ion. Chlorine would be your negative ion here. Typically when we're talking about ionic compounds, it's not typically, you always list your positive ion first and then your negative ion. When it comes to naming them, whatever your positive atom is what you list first, and you don't change the name of it. So sodium, so Na is sodium, so it's just going to be sodium. However, chlorine, so what you will do with chlorine is you're going to drop the ending and change it to be IDE. So what we'll end up with, so you're going to change it to be IDE. So you're going to end up with chloride. So our compound NaCl is going to be sodium chloride. So another example of that would be MgF2. So Mg is positive, F is negative, and you can tell that by looking at the periodic table. So when you look at your periodic table, remember anything that is on this stair line, everything to the left of it, it's going to be a metal. So everything over here is going to be positive. Everything over here is going to be negative, or tends to be negative. So fluorine is a negative charge. Magnesium is a positive charge. So since magnesium is positive, it's just going to be magnesium. Name doesn't change. Now for F, for fluorine, so fluorine is going to become fluoride. And we don't have to change the name, or we don't have to include this number in it. With ionic compounds, the numbers don't have anything to do with the name. So let's do one last example. So if I have SR 3 and 2, so SR is scandium, so this would be, sorry, not scan, I'm looking at the wrong element. I was looking at SC. SR is strontium. N is nitrogen. So nitrogen will become nitride. And so that's how you would do ionic naming if it's simple compounds, because our strontium was plus and minus there. So now, if you have a polyatomic ion, so this is going to be still an ionic compound, still the same rules, but now you've got more than one atom in there. So something like NaNO3. So still our Na is plus, but now we have this NO3 smashed in there. So the typical rule for at least this class is if you have more than two elements there, so we have three, we have sodium, nitrogen, and oxygen. If the first element here is not NH4, so if it's not NH4, because that's our one of our very few positive polyatomic ions, then everything after that is going to be your polyatomic. So with it, so Na again is just sodium. So that part of the naming is easy. Now it's going back to our polyatomic ion sheet, which is right here. So when you're looking at your polyatomic ion sheet, these are in alphabetical order. So when we look down here at the bottom, NO3 here is nitrate. So what's nice about the polyatomic ions is whatever's listed on this paper here, you guys do not have to change. So this element, or this compound, is going to be sodium nitrate. Now, let's say, for example, it is NH4. Then that is going to be your polyatomic, and then whatever is after it. So if you have a single element after it, that's going to be a monoatomic, or a single one. So then that's going back up to here to these rules. So just to write our correct formula there for that. So NH4 is ammonium. And it, again, is a polyatomic ion. So on our sheet here, if you look, we have hydronium. And I'll slide this so you can see it. We have hydronium and we have ammonium. Typically, you don't see hydronium too often. We pretty much only deal with ammonium. So we have ammonium and then nitrogen. But since that's negative, it's going to change to nitride. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you have 8, you have ide. Ide is for monoatomic, which means 1. 8 is polyatomic. And there's one other polyatomic ending that we deal with, and that's ITE or ite. So if we had NaNO2, so now if you look, we have one less oxygen than our ATE form of this. So that means this one is going to be sodium nitro, not ite. Ite should be ITE. Nitrite. I almost started doing ide. So that's the difference. So that's our other polyatomic there.